the Innovation Hub to be a part of this discussion on gender inclusive energy access, putting women at the heart of climate action. But nevertheless, I'm here joining you virtually, and it's my pleasure to be discussing on this very important topic. Universal energy access, as you all know, and the efforts that have been taken has been the core facet of the global energy transition. Significant progress has been achieved to ensure energy access. However, several million people, and these figures are well known, I did not really specify that, but we all know that this is the decade of action, and there is an urgency to meet the SDG 7 targets by 2030. The world is not on track, as I mentioned, and this would really affect the progress of other SDG goals such as poverty, health, reducing inequalities, and others. Universal energy access paves the way for reducing poverty, access to essential services, and facilitating new income opportunity, among others. The largest number of unserved populations is in the continent of Africa, and much needs to be done by all of us together. Facilitating access to a wide array of technologies, supporting the development of enabling policies and regulatory frameworks, creating access to finance, providing capacity building and technology transfer opportunities, as well as raising their innovation potential, would be some of the essential aspects of universal energy access. In the heart of energy access lies the need to strengthen the role of women, who are the torch bearers of every family. Understanding their needs and necessities and adapting energy access initiatives to be inclusive is the very important point that we all need to endure. As highlighted by the UNDP, the lack of access to modern energy has disproportionate negative impacts on women's and girls' health and safety due to their care work, burdens from exposure to indoor air population, from cooking with dirty fuels, to the heavy loads and risk of traveling long distances to collect biomass. Access to energy will enhance economic opportunities and improve access to health and education as well. The provision of basic energy services could reduce the workload of rural women, as it would mechanize certain daily chores, improve access to potable water, and lead women to pursue income-generating opportunities as well. The provision of light in a rural household can increase hours of productive work and allow women to work the flexibility to pursue economic activities. The millions of people who still lack access needs to be prioritized, and their energy security needs to be ensured. Women are a large part of this number. Ensuring gender equality in access to energy services will also have a positive impact on the economic development of all countries. There is also a need to develop the capacities of women globally to ensure the access to the energy sector, especially the RE, that is the renewable energy sector. The role in renewable energy is paramount at their inclusion, which could rapidly accelerate the adoption of renewable energy. Women, obviously, as we are mentioning, can play a major role in this, and developing their capacities to operate and maintain renewable energy projects. Some part, they can also be a very important part of the backbone in designing projects, including the new and innovative approaches that are coming in RE. They can play a very important role. And it has been seen through various reports that the inclusivity and the emergence of this also leads to major economic opportunities, and women should not be deprived of that. Energy access challenges can be resolved only with the active participation of women, not just as receivers of energy services, but also the producers of energy services such as renewable energy. Energy transition as a whole is only possible when globally the role of women is recognized as a crucial piece of the larger climate change puzzle. Their role in energy transition is not to be a catalyst, but also to steer this change towards long-term sustainability. We in India, at the Ministry of New and Renewable Energy, has taken this topic, and this is very near and dear to us. We have been deliberating on the role that women can play And we have very good successful examples in the Indian renewable energy industry, where women not only have contributed as a user, as a contributor to the consumption of renewable energy, but also in nowadays has been a torchbearer in leading some of the very important organizations. From RE perspective, there are a lot of good entrepreneurs who have been coming forward and creating various opportunities for themselves, but also making a huge impact on the lives and livelihoods of the citizens in the area that they work on. We, couple of days back at the International Solar Alliance side event, I had an opportunity to meet some of the aspiring women from India who have been today a leading example of how they changed the entire scenario of their community by adopting to renewable energy, by creating awareness, creating best practices, and they themselves preaching out the benefits of renewable energy, which today can be some leading examples for us to follow. India has taken those strides, and I'm sure the rest of the global community would also be taking. I'm sure there have been quite a good examples as well that in the other parts of the globe, but we need to do more. We are committed. We will take a fair bit of contribution, we'll do a fair bit of contribution, but I think the state agencies, the intergovernmental agencies need to do step up a little bit more. Organizations like NRDC, who have been taking this subject across the globe, I value their commitment. I strongly recommend that we will be an able partner alongside them to really take this inclusive energy access, especially on the gender inclusive access, to the global world. I stop here. Thank you for giving me an opportunity to join virtually and be a part of this very, very important session as the whole world looks towards gender inclusive energy access, putting women at the heart of climate action. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you. Thank you, sir, for your kind words and encouragement. Needless to say that we are very, very encouraged by MNRE's leadership and initiatives to not just in renewable energy domain, but also ensure how gender is considered when the policies and frameworks are being drafted. With this, I move to, we have heard from the policymakers that are at the highest level when it comes to renewable energy in India. We now have a video which will showcase how these policies have been translated on the ground. We'll hear from the women on the ground about their clean energy journey and hear the stories from them. Can we have the video, please?
In rural India, a green revolution is being powered by a bouquet of clean energy solutions. It's not just generating power, it's changing lives of thousands of families.
પાણીનો ખર્ચો બચી ગયો પણ આના લીધે અમારા ઘરની અંદર ઠંડક રહેતી હતી અને એ ગેસ અમે અત્યારે ચૂલામાં ઈંધણ તરીકે ઉપયોગ કરીએ છીએ.
Nearly 2/3 of India's population that resides in villages has limited access to clean energy sources. To bridge this gap, the Natural Resources Defence Council and Self-Employed Women's Association, or SEWA, a grassroots organization, came together to develop the Haryali Gram initiative. A 360-degree climate-friendly solution that has turned the lives and livelihoods of women around. In Rasnol village in Gujarat, Neeruben Rameshbai Gohil used to spend hours irrigating her crops.
એ પાણીની બહુ મુશ્કેલી હતી. તો પહેલાં અમે ઢાળિયા પદ્ધતિથી પાણી લઈએ તો પહેલાં અમે ટાઈમે પાણી ના મળે. પાણી ના મળે તો અમને દિવસે તો મોટા ખેડૂતો પાણી આપે નહીં. રાત્રે જ અમારે પાણી વાળવું પડે. તો રાત્રે પાછી ઝેરી જીવજંતુની પણ ડર લાગે. તો મજબૂરીમાં પણ પાણી ટાઈમે વાળવું પડે.
Through Haryali Gram, she was provided training and access to a clean source of energy.
તો પ્રિસિઝન પંપ કર્યા પછી મારે નિદામણનો ખર્ચો બચી ગયો, પછી પાણીનો ખર્ચો બચી ગયો, પછી મજૂરી કરવી પડતેલી એ મજૂરીનો ખર્ચો બચી ગયો. પ્રિસિઝન પંપ લીધા પછી મારે 45,000નો ખર્ચો થયો અને 29,000 રૂપિયા મને નફો થયો.
None of this work would have been possible without the on-ground interventions by SEWA.
When an agriculture laborer, when she is able to earn a life of dignity and self-respect, the whole process of transformation begins and her self-confidence grows, and then there's no looking back. And that's what Haryala Gaon does, because it brings in different kinds of tools and technology which are affordable to all the households in a village.
Sarojben of Rasoda Gaon shares how difficult it was to cook on traditional wood-fired stoves.
તો તે સમયે મારા રસોડામાં ઘણી બધી મુશ્કેલીઓ આવતી હતી. ધુમાડો જે થતો હતો એના કારણે મારો આંખોની બળતરા થતી હતી, મારું શ્વાસમાં તકલીફ પડતી હતી, મારું ઘર કાળું થતું હતું, મારું માથું દુખતું હતું, મારા બાળકો, મારા ઘર પરિવારને પણ આરોગ્યને તકલીફ પડતી હતી.
Next, Sarojben learned how to use a biogas unit. The biogas generated is transformed through pipe into her kitchen and helps cook her food without any smoke.
રોટલા બની શકે છે, ખીચડી બની શકે, દાળ ભાત તમારે જે બનાવવું હોય બની શકે છે, અને ગેસ અમને પૈસાનો પણ બચાવ થાય છે.
In the future, due to climate change, temperatures are expected to rise, making it difficult for large sections of the population to live. That's why cool roofs take center stage.
જ્યારે મારે કુલિંગ રૂફ નહોતું લગાવેલું ત્યારે બહુ બધી મને પરેશાની થતી હતી. પણ આના લીધે અમારા ઘરની અંદર ઠંડક રહેતી હતી. રસોડાની અંદર પણ અમે ઠંડક અનુભવીએ છીએ.
Perhaps the significance of the Haryali Gram interventions is that they are simple to access and manage for the women.
India has already announced that they will have the energy independence by 2047. And if you want to make this village as an energy independent, so Haryali Gram, this initiative is toward that.
Every village of India should become a Haryali Gram. But to get to that, we need the involvement and the engagement of stakeholders from every section of society. We're actually working with state governments, local bodies, village organizations, self-help groups, and with every level of organizations to make this eventually into a state level and a national level program.
Anything that India does or does not do will have huge implications on our global fight against climate change. That's why we're working with our partners in India to speed up an equitable transition to clean energy. These efforts are a testament to the power of engaging with rural women and communities in India's clean energy transition. I expect that the success of this program will help to inspire hope and greater urgency, not only in India, but throughout the world.
On this note, I would also, I'll take this chance to invite Sangeeta Ben, who's here with us, a rural climate entrepreneur in the truest sense, to share her experiences with us. She'll be supported by Mansi Ben to help her translate her key messages. Yes.
નમસ્તે, મારું નામ સંગીતાબેન રાઠોડ છે અને હું સેવામાંથી છું અને હું છેલ્લા 7 વર્ષથી સેવામાં જોડાઈ છું અને અત્યારે હું ખેતી અને પશુપાલનનું કામ કરું છું.
Namaste, I am Sangeeta Ben Rathod from Aravali district in Gujarat. I am a member of SEWA since past 7 years and I am an agricultural worker and a small and marginal farmer myself.
અમારી 25 લાખ બહેનોનું સેવાનું સંગઠન છે, જેમાં અત્યારે ખાસ કરીને વાતાવરણ બદલાવની વાત ચાલી રહી છે ને, તો અમારે ખાસ એ જ હું મુદ્દો લઈને આવી છું કે વાતાવરણ બદલાવથી અમારા ખેડૂતોનો દરેક શ્રમજીવી બહેનોને બહુ જ નુકસાન થઈ રહ્યું છે.
SEWA has organized over 2.5 million women workers across 18 states in India, and today I am here to share how the climate change is affecting myself and members of SEWA like me.
સેવાએ સ્વચ્છ આકાશ થકી હરિયારા ગામનો ઝુંબેશ ચાલુ કરે છે, જેમાં બાયોગેસ, સોલર પંપ, ESL કિટ, સોલર રૂફટોપ, કુલિંગ રૂફ, સોલર પેનલવાળું સોલર એ બધું ચાલુ કરી છે.
So, in order to build our climate resilience and strengthen our livelihood, SEWA has initiated the Clean Skies campaign, under which we help our members to adopt various green energy solutions such as biogas, cool roof, solar precision irrigation, and solar lanterns, lights, everything.
ખાવાનું બનાવવા માટે જે બાયોગેસ શરૂ કર્યા છે, જે પહેલાં અમે લાકડા લેવા જતા હતા તો બહુ ટાઈમ પણ થતો હતો અને LPG ભરવા જઈએ તો બહુ ખર્ચો પણ થતો હતો, એટલા માટે અમે બાયોગેસ ચાલુ કરી.
Previously, we were using wood-fired cook stoves in our homes for cooking, but it was a lot of effort, and we used a lot of time in collecting firewood, and it was very bad for our health also, and also if we used LPG, it was very expensive.
જ્યારે અમે પહેલાં ખેતી કરતા હતા તો મશીનો વાપરતા હતા અને અત્યારે સોલરથી ખેતી કરીએ છીએ, અને જે ખેતી તો કરીએ જ, એટલે જે ખેતી કરીએ એટલે આપણે પાણીની જરૂર તો હોય જ, એટલે અમે સોલર પંપથી ખેતી કરીએ છીએ અત્યારે. અને જે ખેતી કરીએ અને વધારે ઘરની પણ જરૂર હોય તો અમે સોલર રૂફટોપ એ પણ અપનાવી છે અને સોલર ઉર્જાની ખેતી પણ બહેનોને કરાવીએ છીએ.
So, therefore, we adopted to address the challenges in cooking using wood-fired cook stove. We switched to biogas. Similarly, agriculture is our traditional occupation, and we have been doing agriculture since long. But to make agriculture sustainable and viable, we have now switched to solar pumps for irrigation and also precision-based irrigation technology. And similarly, we have also started piloting energy farming for our members, so that in order to make our livelihoods more sustainable.
જ્યારે બહેનો ખેતરમાં કામ કરીને થાકીને ખૂબ ગરમીમાં ઘરથી બહાર નીકળે તો બહુ જ તડકો હોય છે, જ્યારે ઘેર આવે તો એમના ઘરે AC કે પંખા હોતા નથી, તો એના માટે અમે કુલિંગ રૂફ પણ કરાવી છે.
So, when women come home after a tiresome day working in the fields, in the villages we do not have air conditioning or fans, and therefore we have helped our sisters to adopt cool roof technology, which helps in reducing the indoor temperature.
વાતાવરણના બદલાવથી જો કોઈ બેન અત્યારે અમારા સંગઠનમાં બધા જ પ્રકારની સમજી બહેનો ખેતી કરે છે, તો એમાં જે મીઠું પકવનારી બહેનો હોય અને જો બરાબર મીઠું તૈયાર થઈ ગયું હોય અને અચાનક વરસાદ આવી જાય તો એનું બધી જ મહેનત બાદ જાય, તો એની આવકનું શું થાય અને એનું કોણ એનું જોવે કોણ એમ.
SEWA has organized women from various trades, including the salt pan workers. If I share the experience of the salt pan workers, they work in the desert for 8 months, and at the end of laborious work, when their salt is ready and harvested and ready to be transported, just at that time, if there are unseasonal rains, the entire salt harvest gets washed away. Who will look after those sisters? What will happen to their livelihoods?
સેવા જે સ્વચ્છ આકાશનો ઝુંબેશ ચલાવે છે એમાં અમે હરિયાળું ગામ તો બનાવી જ, પણ એમાં ખેતી પણ ઓર્ગેનિક, જેમાં કે જૈવિક દવાઓ અને જૈવિક ખાતરોનો જ ઉપયોગ કરીએ છીએ.
And therefore, through our Swachh Akash, the Clean Skies campaign, we try to make the livelihoods of all of these members resilient. In our Swachh Akash campaign, the Clean Skies campaign, we not only focus on making green villages, but we also work on making our agriculture organic, sustainable and green.
હરિયાળું ગામ કરવાથી અમારું જમીન પણ નહીં બગડતી, અમારું આરોગ્ય પણ નહીં બગડતું અને અમારું વાતાવરણ પણ નહીં બગડતું.
Through this initiative, we are able to prevent the damage to our land, prevent the pollution of our air and wastage of water.
હા, હું ખાસ એ જ કહેવા માગું છું કે દરેક બહેનો જે અમે સેવાની બહેનોએ હરિયાળા ગામ કર્યા છે એવું જ આખી દુનિયામાં જો થઈ રહે તો ધીરે ધીરે આપણે સ્વચ્છ આકાશ બનાવી દઈશું.
I just want to say that just like 2.5 million members of SEVA have come together and started the Clean Skies campaign to work towards better environment, clear water, clean land, clean soil. I would request that everyone should join this Clean Skies campaign, and that way we will be able to make a real difference.
અને ખાસ તો એ જ કે આખી દુનિયા બધા લોકો બધા જ માં ડિજિટલ થઈ ગઈ છે પણ રોટલી ક્યારે ડિજિટલ ખેતી ક્યારે ડિજિટલ નહીં થાય.
Because I want to say that while this is, we are all moving into a digital era, the bread that we eat is never going to be digitized. And therefore, there is a need for Clean Skies campaign.
હા સેવાએ જે પગલું લીધું છે ચાલો આપણે એમના પણ સાથ આપીને તમે પણ અમારી સાથ આપીને સેવાને આગળ વધારો અને સ્વચ્છ આકાશ તરફ લઈ જાઓ.
So I would like to invite you all to join us in our Clear Skies campaign and help us strengthen the campaign and work towards a better future for all.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sangeeta Ben and Mansi Ben. It is discussions such as these that enables making impactful policies and designing implementable programs. With this, I would now like to invite Mr. Manish Bapna, President and CEO of NRDC, to reflect on the importance of partnerships and collaborations necessary for effective implementation of similar initiatives on the ground.
Great. Thank you. Thank you. Just want to say what a powerful video, and really appreciate your remarks, because there's something that's different about this conversation than most of the other conversations at COP today. Most of the conversations at COP start with climate change. They talk about the global conversation. They're very top down. And in these conversations, we oftentimes forget what this is all about. And it's about people. It's about human development. It's about dignity. It's about gender. And we need to do a much better job of actually not thinking about how climate feeds into everything else that we do, but thinking about, not thinking about how everything else feeds into climate, but thinking about how we actually integrate climate into how we're actually tackling poverty and promoting human development. And I think that's what this effort tries to do, is it tries to bring issues of clean energy and climate into what actually is taking place on the ground today, how we are actually finding ways to elevate the role of women, to promote better livelihoods, to improve dignity, to support jobs and development on the ground. And I think that's what's actually special about this work and what we need to do in terms of a mindset change to really think about how we tackle these issues. I'm going to paraphrase Nelson Mandela. He said, poverty is man-made. Climate is also man-made. And what we need to do and what we need to recognize is that tackling poverty, tackling climate is ultimately about the actions that we take. The second piece I just want to mention is the importance of partnerships. To really do this well, no organization can do this on their own. We need to think hard about radical collaboration with new types of organizations that enable us to reach out and do things we couldn't do alone. And what this partnership is precisely that, a partnership with the Self-Employed Women's Association. 2.5 million members in India, a reach at a grassroots level that no other organization in India has. That ability to reach women, to reach places that no other organization can, to think about how we integrate climate. And at the same time, a partnership with ARIAS, the Ministry of New and Renewable Energy, that enables us to think about how we can replicate and scale in a way that no other government agency can help us do. So thinking hard about how we look at the right types of partnerships to reach the right people and to replicate and scale, given the urgency of the challenge, is what makes this work, I think, so distinct and exciting. And so we're particularly excited to be renewing our MOU with both SEWA and with Arias, and to really reinvigorate this work moving forward. So with that, delighted to be here and to continue in this conversation. So thank you.
Thank you, Manish. Building on what Manish just highlighted, I would now request Deepa and Manish to come on stage and present the technology guidebook that we have developed in partnership with Arias and SEWA. It's a compendium of resources that the end users will be able to refer to for the clean energy solutions that they have implemented in their houses. I also request Rima Ben and all the SEWA sisters who are here to come on the stage for this, please. I'll also take this opportunity to highlight that SEWA sisters are one of the key stakeholders when we talk about the knowledge resources like this. It's with their support that we'll be able to take these knowledge products to millions of SEWA sisters in India and around the globe. Thank you everyone for launching the report. The report is now live at nrdc.org. Do we have Mr.? Yeah. And also the QR code is on the screen. With this, we now move to our next segment of the session, which is a panel discussion. I'll request Ms. Charulata, who's Senior Program Lead for Clean Energy and Electric Mobility at NRDC India, to moderate the session. Joining her are Padma Shri Ms. Rima Nanavati, Chairperson of SEWA, Ms. Kavita Rai, Senior Program Officer, IRENA, Ms. Bharti Chaturvedi, Founder, Chintan, and Ms. Deepa Singh Bagai, Country Head, NRDC India. Over to you, Charu.
Thank you, Akanksha, and a very warm welcome to our esteemed panelists today, and all the people who are sitting here in the audience and also have joined us online. We actually have an impressive lineup of speakers today. These are all women leaders who've been able to make transformative change on the ground, and we'll all get to hear stories from them today. We have limited time, so I'll dive into the discussion right away. Rima Ben, I will start with you. You are a stalwart in this area. SEWA has been there for more than 50 years. Sangeeta Ben just said 2.5 million members. That's huge in India and in other countries across the globe. I want to understand from you, what are some of the challenges that you face when you're working with women on the ground, these grassroots women, and you're transitioning, them towards clean energy? And how do you feel that, a platform like COP28 would be able to address some of the issues that you're facing?
Thank you so much. First of all, it's my great privilege and honor to be sharing with you, calling me a stalwart, but the stalwarts are all sitting here besides me. And as we speak, I'm very happy to share we have 3 million members now, not 2.5. And I think to what you just said, when you identify what are the issues that the women workers are facing, what are the real needs or challenges, and then organize around it, I think that is what increases their participation, their sense of belongingness and ownership. And I think that's how when you design an initiative, it then takes the form of an organization. And I would like to say what Manish Bhai was also just saying, the role of partnerships. And I think since last almost a decade or more, what we have been realizing is that when women are able to lift themselves out of poverty, the biggest challenge that they face is that of climate shocks and market shocks. And unless and until we start addressing those climate shocks, women do start adapting on their own, because that's how, and innovate, and that becomes their survival and coping strategy. But then how do you bring the right kind of tools and technology to the women? And I think that's where we were very fortunate to have NRDC partner with us. And I remember that, Samir Bhai was there in those earlier days, which was more than 10 years ago. We were really struggling that how do you relieve those salt pan workers from being like bonded laborers, and we piloted with, solar pumps. And then I was discussing again with NRDC, with you all, that, how do we address this issue of climate? But not just addressing the issue, but in the whole process, how do you generate livelihood opportunities as well? And these are the green jobs. And I think when you look at addressing climate from a very holistic and integrated approach, what Sangeeta Ben was sharing, that you are not addressing one or two issues, but you are looking from a very holistic point of view, that you address the indoor air pollution, the issue of women walking long distances to collect fuel wood, the affordability issue, and then looking at how do you address the issue of climate even in their areas of livelihood. So in agriculture, in other livelihoods that they are, like the salt miners, like the vegetable vendors. That's where I think women then start owning the whole process, and that spearhead. So we started with Haryala Gaon, just 2 of them. Then we went to 10, and today I think 150 villages are ready, and this is all under the leadership of women. And this is what will spearhead the whole process of climate action. And I think once the women take charge of it, there would be no looking back. So
Thank you. Thank you so much, Rima Ben. I think you very rightly pointed out, some of the approaches, that sense of ownership, having a holistic approach. When we are actually talking about households, about women, about rural areas, about vulnerable populations, that becomes very, very important. I will now move to our next speaker, Ms. Kavita Rai. Kavita, you've been working with IRENA, and you are a gender expert. I want to understand from you, how can clean energy be used to alleviate some of the challenges that women face today? And how can organizations like IRENA, how are they supporting this transition?
Thank you, Charu, for inviting us to this esteemed panel. Greetings from Mrs. Gauri Singh, who's our Deputy Director General. She was supposed to be here, but unfortunately got caught up, so she sent me. But I'm glad because, like we've heard from Seva, I think I am here today because of women like them. 30 years ago, when I was a young professional, I'm originally from Nepal. I spent many years in the villages working on renewable energy. No one knew what renewable energy was those days. But I got converted, not because of anything, but because I saw the impact. I remember very clearly, vividly till today, sitting, with one lady, and she told me her life has changed because of a 3 cubic meter biogas, that she didn't need to go and collect the firewood, that she could send her children to school, that her 2 sons could read, and there was electricity from a microhydro. And I used to question a lot in my early days, is electricity really a basic need, or is water a need, right? Like when you are a young professional, you're starting asking these questions. And I was a total convert, since those days. And 30 years from now, I wish I didn't have to sit here and talk about it, but we are. There are still millions of people, millions of women in villages in India, possibly in Nepal, who are left in the villages because the men have gone away. And, so the challenges remain. Electricity access is better, but not so much in sub-Saharan Africa. I can see, people from sub-Saharan Africa here as well. I think in Asia it's much better, but I think there needs to be a lot done. At IRENA, we believe that we need to start looking at cross-sectoral, approaches. So we've just launched on the 4th of December an initiative that will be led by the division, Country Engagement and Partnership, where I come from. It's called Empowering Lives and Livelihoods, Renewables for Climate Action. And we're already working in 13 countries, working cross-ministerial. I think this is very important. And IRENA thinks that now we should cross that boundary, move over, work very closely with the ministries of agriculture and with the ministries of health, form coordination committees, learn from countries like India. I think India has got some amazing examples, and hopefully, this will be a movement for us. I think working cross-sectorally is always very, very challenging, very difficult. Many people have tried, and it's difficult, but we are trying there one step at a time. We're trying to raise funds for the countries that are involved with us, but at the heart of it, we want to take adaptation, we want to take women's resilience and convert that into actions, and choosing specific agriculture value chains. I don't know if you've been here. Actually, if you just walk out the door and go to the right, there's a WHO and a Selco Foundation walkthrough where you can actually go and see what women face in terms of their lives, right? Like maternal care. So I definitely suggest, recommend that you walk through there. So these are some of the things that we're doing. I definitely believe jobs are important. I know that's more of a renewable energy sector, and I think we've heard a lot about that. But yeah, I could go on, but here I will. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Mr. Rai. I think you pointed out a very important thing. The approaches that we are going ahead with, one, they need to be cross-sectoral. 2, we need to have cross-ministerial programs. We can't just work with one ministry, just the energy ministry. There are so many other allied ministries that are, linked. And when we talk about this transition, we need to rope everyone in. And jobs, like you said, it is very important because till the time we are not generating livelihoods, it won't really help. Thank you for your remarks. I will now move to Ms. Bharti Chaturvedi. Bharti ji, you founded Chintan 20 years back. Chintan has been doing a lot of work with youth, with women on the ground, a lot of work on waste management, circular economy. I am sure there will be many success stories that you have, successful case studies where you've seen that there is transformative change happening on the ground. What I want to understand from you today is how can we convert one of these successful case studies on maybe women in circular economy and make that a regular norm, weave that into the social fabric of the society?
So I think I'll take that to the next step. I really believe that we really have to look at it from a very intersectional framework, because it's not just, an economic justice we're talking about. There's so many other kinds of needs that have to all be met in order to translate into a kind of both resilience as well as empowerment, and both of which would add up to justice, right? So I think, first of all, if you really wanted to make a gendered norm around the circular economy, if that was the idea, then there are three things that we need to talk about. Because right now, when we've just had the INC, meetings about phasing out plastics. Even here, there's a whole global conversation around fossil fuels. And then there's a conversation around methane. And many of these actually offer extraordinary job opportunities for women. Mitigating methane, whether it's through biogas or composting, is huge. On the other hand, reducing plastics means between 40 to 60% loss of income for somebody at the bottom of the pyramid, a woman who picks trash. And these are studies that Chintan has done across the country. However, none of these, and so we need a just transition even for women whose livelihoods in urban India, and India is rapidly urbanizing, is actually going to be the just transition around people who are plastic waste collectors, who are waste pickers, who are doorstep collectors, because their incomes are going to crash as we start banning various kinds of plastics. But none of these opportunities, neither the just transition, nor I would say the mitigation or the elimination of methane can ever take place if we don't look at certain gendered norms of work. In terms of work alone, it has to be really close to where they live, which means that you just can't pick up people and throw them really far away. It's impossible to come because women have to look after children. They have to look at sick people. Women are caregivers. Over 95% of women spend time as caregivers. So they have to be close. Secondly, you need flexibility because you need to go home sometimes. Thirdly, you really have to have a very different set of skills to help women shift. It's not about just banks. It's about even training bankers to work with women. And these are just our global realities. But I can tell you from Chintan's work, these are realities. On the other hand, and we did this study called Santulan, where we actually found that women who got space to work earned so much more. The difference was between a woman who was working in, say, recycling, earning just a quarter of what women who'd got space, micro-infra, systems in place, flexibility, were able to earn. Finally, I'm going to close by talking about, how do you actually take yourself to work if you're going to collapse in heat, if you're going to be flooded out, if you don't have enough to eat. So our Kyari to Kitchen work, which is basically urban farming in slums by women, has actually really helped them to eat better and feed their children better, for example. And those are the kinds of initiatives led by women. They've made their own recipes and things like that, that we really have to both scale up and also learn to listen to what women want.
Thank you so much, Bharti ji. I think you pointed out a very important point. When we are designing programs, they really need to be around the norms, proximity, like you mentioned, or flexibility. And it's not just for women. I mean, ideally, these parameters should be considered in any program that we are designing. Thank you for those remarks. I will now come to Deepa. Deepa, we've heard from 3 people on the panel. We've heard about a bunch of challenges, be it climate or market shocks that Reema Ben mentioned, or the access to technology, or designing programs in a certain way. We also heard about a bunch of solutions, having a holistic approach, cross-sectoral, cross-ministerial. I want to understand from you, seeing these challenges and the solutions that various speakers have highlighted today, how can we form successful partnerships to take this forward in a very holistic way so that we're able to, one, see the scale and the speed that we need in this transition, while also ensuring that this transition is equitable and it is just for every section in the society?
Thank you so much, Charu. Those are very thought-provoking questions. The first thing that we have to understand is that climate is not gender neutral. In different ways, members of this illustrious panel have emphasized that. I cannot tell you how privileged I am to be sitting next to Rima Ben and the work that she has led, not only in bringing women to the heart of the climate debate and to the heart of the climate work. It's not about words. It's about translating those words in every action that Seva is taking and how that is happening in every home, in every village. And I think that is the important thing. It's like, you know, when we talk about a revolution, let's say the LED revolution. And I remember Rima Ben saying that the big renewable energy challenge that we have, or the big climate crisis that we have, will be solved only partly by COP28 or national meetings, international groupings such as the G20. They will be solved in every home, in the homes of those village women that Rima Ben just told us the sheer numbers of those. So every home and every member of that home is important. So the partnership has to start from there. Kavita was mentioning about how it is important that the partnerships extend to institutional frameworks. And those institutional frameworks have to be led not by a ministry or a department or one nation or one state or one district. It has to be so interconnected and so seamless that the clean ground, clean water, and clean air are all borderless and boundaryless. Our responses have to be equally borderless and boundaryless and become so integrated. That is a far cry from where we are at the moment. Our turf wars, just trying to establish who will approach different parts of the problem, are so embedded that we have to first get over all those to be really looking at the solutions. And I think it is our duty, each one of us in every field, to be able to just widen our minds and look more broadly at these issues. I mean, in the area that we work, with other colleagues of ours, with other agencies that are working in this, there is the insecurity that if I am doing this, if somebody else also starts to do it, am I going to lose my space? The point here is there is too much space. There is too much to be done. And there is space for everyone to contribute to that work that we have to do. The challenge is huge. The responses are known. The important thing is for the partners to come together to be able to address those challenges in a way that we can actually answer the questions and be accountable to each of the women who are sitting here and not just have those discussions in negotiating rooms, in plenary halls. What Bharti was mentioning about the basic amenities or the basic infrastructure that has to be provided to women to engender that infrastructure is so important. While we talk about cooling stations, while we talk about cool roofs, while we talk about air conditioning, while we talk about technologies, while we talk about policies, each of those can be looked at with a gender lens and must be looked at with a gender lens. That is something we are not exactly being able to do perfectly. It is starting. We are doing some of it. I'm glad that we had Joint Secretary Jagdale who was speaking to us. It's at those levels that the policy framework has to include the engendered part. And it's at the levels of people like Bharti and Rima Ben that it has to be translated into the ground. And it's organizations like mine and so many others that are here and are represented here at COP, international organizations like IRENA, bodies, international bodies like NRDC India, and so many others that have to actually capture the power of partnerships to make that happen. And like I said, it is not something that can be done by any group, by any agency, by any ministry. It has to cross those boundaries and coalesce into something really powerful that we can do and make sure that women are kept at the heart and at the center of this climate transition to make sure that it is a just transition. So I think it's really important that we do not forget that, and we keep that basically as an absolutely shining underlying factor that continues to guide us and take us forward on that path.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Deepa. I think you kind of summed it up in a very, very good way. There are so many initiatives that we have. You know, Hariyali Gram is just one example. So many organizations are doing so much on the ground. Within India, we have so many initiatives that are happening on the ground, and such good work is happening. Bharti ji highlighted so many things that Chintan is doing. I think what is important is that how do we scale this? How do we make this a norm? How do we weave it into the social fabric of the society that we have today? To ensure that, again, like you were saying, women are not just a part of it, but they are actually at the heart of it, being contributors, you know, being leaders, being entrepreneurs in this journey, and then actively being part of it, at the heart of it. With this, I will conclude the panel for the day. I thank all the esteemed panelists that are there today with us. Thank you so much. Over to you, Akanksha.
Thank you.
Akanksha? Just before that, I would like all of us, because we are sitting here and the women sitting here, all of us have a certain junoon. There's no real translation for that word, but it is like obsession, madness. A couplet by a very famous Urdu poet, Amir Khazalbash. हमारे जुनून का असर ज़रूर निकलेगा. The effect of our madness, our obsession will come out. इसी स्याह समंदर से नूर निकलेगा. From this dark climate crisis that we are facing, will the light, will the luminescence come out? It's with the women that will lead that and make us go into that luminous future.
Thank you. I think we couldn't have had a better close to our session today. And with this, I'd like to thank all of you for joining us for this session, and also everybody who has joined us online. I hope we all walk out with a little bit more inspiration to continue doing what we all are doing to address the climate change and other related issues. Thank you so much.